No, it depends on the information that's provided, and if claimants are providing very good quality information through the ESA 50, then they can be referred without a face-to-face assessment. But I'd also point out this, that actually we've seen the proportion of people going into support group has increased in recent times, particularly as a consequence of not using face-to-face assessments.
Jesse Norman.
Number 11, Mr. Speaker.
And Esther.
Job Centre Plus have a national network of employer relationship and partnership staff whose task is to work collaboratively with voluntary organisations to support more people back to work and both encourage and support employers to open up their vacancies to the unemployed.
Jesse Norman.
I thank the Minister for that reply. Newton Farm Community Association in my constituency have signed up a number of high-profile local people from both the private and public sectors to mentor unemployed people in Herefordshire. Will the Minister join me in congratulating the association, in commending this spirit of self-help and mutual support? And will he look at ways in which the government can use job centres to offer further support to this and similar mentoring programmes?
Well, can I not only join in congratulations, but also say that the local job centre actually has a very positive relationship with the Newton Farm Community Association, and we do want to do more work with local organisations to encourage people into work, and we are very keen to support them in any way that we can.
John Werra.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many smaller voluntary organisations and social enterprises who signed up for the work programme have had appalling experiences, some not even receiving a single referral, and they complain of being the fig leaf of local engagement for large companies, whilst in fact they know the local skills and job market best. So what is the Minister going to do to improve their experience?
Well, the work programme providers are given freedom and flexibility about who they should contract with, but what we have introduced is a Merlin standard to govern the relationship between work programme contractors and their subcontractors. And if organisations have concerns about the way in which they've been treated by the work programme providers, then they should refer that to the Merlin Committee.
Stuart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Minister join with me in congratulating Job Centre Plus in the Beverley and Holderness area for working closely with me in organising a jobs fair, which hundreds of local people attended, for their part in ensuring that Beverley and Holderness has one of the highest apprentices starts in the country, and the fact that unemployment is now 3.5%, and we've seen a 20% drop in youth unemployment in my constituency in the last year.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I will join my honourable friend in congratulating the work of his local Job Centre Plus. They do an excellent job in helping people into work, but of course helped by the private sector. That's created 1.3 million new jobs since May 2010.
Stephen Timms.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A key step for job centres will be the introduction of universal credit. A press release from the Secretary of State in May last year claimed that all new applications for existing benefits and credits will be entirely phased out by April 2014. Will the Minister acknowledge today that job centres will still be handling new applications for existing benefits long after next April?
Well, the right honourable gentleman has never ceases to amaze me the number of questions he asks about universal credit, and I have to say I don't think he ever gets. He knows exactly what the time scale is. We said when the national rollout will be completed. I thought he'd have been delighted today that we extend the rollout to Wigan.
Harry Sherman.
12, Mr. Speaker.
Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, the right honourable gentleman asks a really important question about absolute poverty. The threshold has been rebased this year under a new baseline, and that changes the way it's reporting. But these changes result from a reclassification and I don't think represent a real change in children's circumstances. However, in fact, low income and material deprivation is static or marginally improved, and he asks about what we're doing, and there are a number of programmes through bringing in universal credit to help the poorest, some of the work programme, troubled families programme, and I'll go through more detail with him if he wants, pupil premium, early intervention and education, a whole raft of work to go and try and change the lives of those likely to be on low incomes.
Barry Shearman.
But, Mr. Speaker, I know the Secretary of State to be a thoughtful man and quite a caring man as well. But is he not concerned that the Maggie Atkinson, the Children's Commissioner, can only recently as last week say that the recent reforms of welfare benefits has to put another 600,000 children into real poverty?
I say to the honourable gentleman, I would like to think on both sides of the House, that an objective is to reduce child poverty. That is our stated objective. I think it was the stated objective of his government. Well, actually, I hear from the front bench it's gone up. Actually, relative poverty has fallen by 300,000 since the start of this Parliament. And I do recall, before they intervene again, that whilst his is a thoughtful question, their interjection is not. The reality is throughout the last 10 years, they talked about relative poverty as the measure, not absolute poverty, so they want to be slightly careful. It's fallen under this government. But the real point is we are in a difficult time. There's no question about it. You know, just the other day we saw that the ONS has revised its figures about the scale of the collapse in 2009 down to 7%, which is a dramatic fall. All those programmes, I said to the honourable gentleman we were bringing in, we will drive, and the change we hope to the measurement is about getting real help to real people.
Grateful to the Secretary of State. Nigel Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Isn't it the case that in the past enormous sums were spent on moving people just over the relative poverty threshold without addressing any of the causes of poverty? And can my right honourable friend reassure the House that he will change this?
Yes, I mean, the point that is really important to make is that during the last period, from 2004 to 2010, the last government, just on tax credits alone, spent £171 billion. Actually, relative poverty then rose through the same period, and absolute poverty was absolutely static, only falling at the end when inflation crashed below zero because the economy crashed with it.
In Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this multimillionaire Secretary of State with his stately home lifestyle has never gone hungry in his life. But for some children in poverty, the free school dinner is the only square meal in the day. And ministers have still refused to set out plans for their future under universal credit. Now, with rumours of a new cut-off for families earning more than £135 a week, will he end the uncertainty for 168,000 families and tell us when he's going to set out these plans?
We've always said that we stand by the existence of free school meals, and I stand by that now, and as we bring universal credit in, we will make it very clear how that works and how it works well. But a point I have to say to him, and I don't need any lectures from him, because he might accuse us of one thing, but it's not us that crashed the economy and forced lots and lots of people, thousands and thousands of people, into poverty directly as a result of their incompetence. This government is doing more to get people back to work, more to get them off poverty, and more to help them through their family breakdown than his government ever did, coming from an empty barrel like him.
Pauline Latham.
13, sir.
Minister McVey.
Women's participation in the labour force has never been higher. There are 13.8 million women in work, the highest number on record, and 250,000 more than before the recession.
Pauline Latham.
I thank the Minister for that answer. Does my honourable friend agree with me that although much progress has been made on this issue, it's important that the government continues to focus on and monitor the number of women in work?
I absolutely agree with my honourable friend, and we will be doing just that. And I hope she will also agree with me that the steps that the Chancellor took to add another 200 million to childcare support will be essential in helping parents, mums and dads back into the workplace.
Thank Roy.
Many women in my constituency lost their job when the government supported the closure of the Employ factory. Since then, nearly a year later, they've not found any employment. Why?
Well, I will tell the honourable member what has been happening. Out of the 1,100 people who did come forward and want support from their Employ factories, to date, Mr. Speaker, 400 of those have work and 328 are in training. That at the moment is higher than any regular redundancy getting people into work. So we've provided tailored support, £8 million. We've tracked those people, something that the previous Labour government never did when it closed down its 29 factories in 2008.
Mr. Marcus Jones.
Question number 15, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
From the 10th of June, judges in 4 social security and child support tribunals are providing DWP with more in-depth information on why they overturn ESA decisions. That builds on the drop-down list of primary reasons for overturning decisions that was introduced last July.
Mr Marcus Jones.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I congratulate the Minister for the work that she has done in securing this new approach with Her Majesty's Courts and Tribunal Service? Would she agree that the information from the tribunals is actually going to allow the Department to be able to improve their decision-making process in a far better way?
Minister.
My honourable friend is correct in what he says, and this is key because decisions are turned over for many reasons. Most of the time it has been because new information has come to play at that appeal. But really we do need to find out why decisions are overturned, not just for the claimant but for the DWP and everybody who is involved in this.
Mr Bryant.
But isn't the truth of the matter that the vast majority of things are overturned because they made the wrong decision in the first place? Wouldn't it make far more sense to make the right decision in the first place so we didn't have to waste time and money and energy on having to pursue these things all over again?
I don't believe the honourable member was listening to what I said, that actually the majority of overturns was because new information was being supplied at the appeal. So what we are doing to make sure that we're getting it right first time, just like under UC and PIP there will be mandatory reconsiderations, that too will be the case for ESA from the end of October, so that we can have a proper administrative route rather than a judicial route where it is extra cost, extra pain, extra stress. We are getting this right, something that actually the previous government never did.
Mary MacLeod.
Question number 16, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
In my honourable friend's area, 1,700 young people have had more than 6 months' work as a consequence of the work programme, and 2 of the 3 work programme providers in her area significantly exceeded the targets set.
Mary MacLeod.
Minister for his answer. One of the best ways that we can nurture and create aspiration in our young people is to have better careers advice and guidance in schools and further education. What advice has he had with other ministers on this, and is there more we can do to encourage them to set up their own business as well as part of it?
Minister.
My honourable friend raised an important point, and I have regular discussions with ministerial colleagues, particularly the Minister for Skills, to talk about careers guidance and advice. I've seen a very good example in Further Education College in my own constituency, Mr Speaker, where there is an employment advisor in the college talking to young people about what opportunities flow from the courses they're taking. And that sort of innovation, I think, is really important to make sure young people make the best of the qualifications they've had.
McCarthy.
Mr Speaker, the Ministers will, I hope, be aware of the excellent research carried out by the Single Parent Action Network, which supports young single parents as well as older parents trying to get into work. And their recent report on the work programme, which has found that there's still very many barriers, like the lack of affordable childcare and other issues, which are stopping them doing this. Can I urge the Ministers to go away and look at that report and realise that it's not so easy for people who've got childcare responsibilities?
Yeah.
I think the Honourable Lady raised an important point. We need to work with those organisations to support lone parents, to see what more the work programme can do to help lone parents get into employment. But also, I think one of the things we're trying to do, and it was announced last week by the Chancellor, is provide more support to lone parents in the 2 or 3 years before their child goes to primary school.
Mr Peter Bone.
Mr Speaker, would the Minister agree that, of course, what we really need is jobs for young people in the economy? And would he welcome what's happening at Rushton Lakes, which is a new major retail leisure park, which is going through the planning process at the moment, which will create thousands of jobs, many of them for young people, and thanks to the leadership of the Conservative-dominated government?
Minister.
Well, my honourable friend is absolutely right. And of course, the party opposite said that they didn't believe the private sector would create the jobs to offset public sector job losses. We know that over the last 3 years, for every job lost in the public sector, 3 were created in the private sector. They criticised that. We should congratulate them.
Order. We must move on. Topical questions. Mr Michael McCann.
Topical number 2, Mr Speaker.
Secretary of State.
Mr Speaker, today I welcome the announcement in the spending review that we will reinvest over $350 million a year in extra support to help people move into work, from upfront work search and more intensive work preparation to weekly signing and mandatory English language courses. We are ensuring that those who need the most help get it, in turn giving them the best possible chance of finding work.
Michael McCann.
Mr Speaker, judging by the evidence of my constituency surgeries, the testimony of other members and the number of successful appeals, ATOS cannot tell the difference between someone who is sick and someone who is not. Given that that's their job, when's the Secretary of State going to sack them?
Minister.
As I've said in earlier responses, Mr. Speaker, we are continuing to build upon the system we inherited from the previous government. We've got the 4th independent review of the work capability assessment. We've had our own independent review, and what we're seeing is the proportion of people going to support group has actually increased in recent years.